Yeah, I think the franchise is part of the legacy. So I really enjoyed building World Kids in the community around Washington. But then I can only do this so many times on my own, right? Bringing partners in that want to really spread that around the country helps all of us to build legacy together. And it means a ton to me.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Behind the Franchise. As always, I'm your host, Paul Ehlinger, and today I'm super excited. A new friend on the show that I got to meet down at the IFA Emerging Conference at the end of last year, Nicole Chaudry with WorldKids School. Nicole, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, Paul, I'm so happy to be here. It was so nice to meet you at the Emerging IFA show down in Nashville. Such a fun event.
And it was funny. I was thinking about that trip, and it was really cold that first day down there. And I've recreated it here in Cincinnati after we just had the big snowstorm that came through America here.
I've
So
been tracking it.
it's been a big one.
Yeah.
But starting off, I always like to ask kind of what folks' journey is, kind of that led them here. I think franchising an interesting world that everybody's got a different one, and I want to call out. I was doing some research on you for this episode, and I found a YouTube video from 15 years ago that was you winning like Child Instructor of the Year or something. I forget the exact kind of award. But I felt like it's such a clear like this is your beginning story almost, and so if you can for the guests, maybe who are you? How'd you get to where you are today?
Sure. Well, I can't believe you found that video. Little did I know then. I pretty much moved here from Europe when I became a parent. My son is now 20 years old.
Yeah,
Originally I have a corporate and business background, and I was looking for schools where my son could have a great quality multilingual immersion exposure in a preschool program.
hmm,
And back then, I was looking around. I was in Washington, in the Seattle area, and I couldn't find anything where
sure,
children would be immersed into language. So I kind of looked into what does it take to create
yeah,
a language immersion program. And the video that you saw was when I started out of my home. Back then, you could have a license out of your home, and
yeah.
I left my corporate job and the business world, and we had fun every day in my home. I had my students coming, and we were speaking. Back then, we're speaking Spanish and German,
Yeah.
and yeah. So I kind of fell into it through becoming a parent and seeing a need.
Yeah, I mean, huge jump. I have to imagine. Like, maybe just walk us through for a couple of minutes, like what that experience was in the first place. Because I think launching your own business is one thing, launching a business for children is another thing, launching a business for children out of your home is another thing. What really like convinced you, like, hey, this is absolutely a thing I should be jumping into?
I just really believe in raising global citizens, and I
Yeah.
think it really starts very early. And
Hmm.
there is this window in their early childhood time where we have an opportunity that they grasp languages like native speakers. So
Yeah.
I was thinking if I could provide that same head start for my child where he could be exposed to two or three languages at
Hmm.
an early age, then he might become fluent in a language that maybe his parents don't speak. And very much that's the case. His parents don't speak Spanish. We speak German at home and English, and he speaks Spanish, German, and English now.
That's
And
awesome.
so, and then just the families that was obviously very personal experience. They came to my
Sure.
home back then. The classroom was my living room. And we just became very close friends. We connected. Our children were all the same age. And I think the video you actually viewed was when they nominated me for an award.
That's
And
exactly it. Yeah.
I got it. And I got to
There we
travel to DC and,
go.
meet congressmen
Yeah.
and women. And it was a really fun experience. I'm really thankful for that.
Yeah, that's awesome, and it really speaks to when I was in high school. I did a program called the International Baccalaureate Program. It was essentially like a different version of AP. I don't know if you've ever heard of that before, but
My son did it.
oh, okay, so exactly, and I think
Yes.
it was. I still attribute so much of like how I am today to that experience because it forced you to like learn in very different ways. I took French intensively. I still speak French to this day because of it, and I have no reason to. Like I live in the middle of the U.S. where like once every 6 months I meet somebody that knows French. So I do fully agree with the thesis. I think it just makes you a stronger citizen. It makes you appreciate different aspects of education and how important it is. So I totally buy into that. And I'm curious, so you make the jump, you start the school. At the time, I think it was called Europa Kids. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Love that. And so then maybe fast forward to today, or I guess within the last year or so, what's led to this decision to start franchising that business model?
Yeah, so just starting the school brought me so much joy and
Yeah.
seeing exactly, by the way, congratulations on being a fluent French speaker. That's a hard language to learn.
We're not going to call it fluid at this point. We're probably conversational, but if I get back into it, I could get back to fluid.
Well, still, when you probably spend some time in France and you're immersed into the environment, you
It
probably
helps a
become
lot.
fluent. That's how my
Absolutely, yeah.
Polish is. Um, well, we just kind of realized really quickly how many lives we really change
Sure.
by exposing children at a young age to languages. So first of
Hmm.
all, these children are now stepping into the classroom every day, and it's like they're stepping into a different country every day. So
Sure.
everything we're doing in the classroom is designed around different cultures and introducing countries in the world. And it's in either language immersion, Mandarin or Spanish or
Hmm.
French,
Hmm.
or it depends on the language we're teaching at each school. But now we've also seen that parents are picking up language classes because their
Oh,
children
yep.
now coming home and they're
Yeah.
speaking Spanish, French, Mandarin, you name it. And we just have followed these students over the years,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
they've done really well. They got into great colleges. They maybe travel the world. They're
Yeah.
doing internships in China or in different countries. And it's just been so impactful. So over the
Yeah.
years, these parents that had their children in our program, they came to me and said, Nicole, we believe in this so much.
Yeah.
We would like to open a school like this and bring this concept to
That's
multiple
so cool.
communities.
Yeah.
Now, that happened over the years. I wasn't sure that I could commit to franchising back then. But now that I'm an empty nester, my son is in his second year in college.
Yeah.
That was the time for me to do it and jump in, and I have the
Makes
time to
sense.
travel. And it's been such a great journey.
Yeah, I always love to ask this question as a follow up. Like, why franchising versus just a bunch of nationally owned, corporate owned stores around it? What really draw you to having others folks kind of into the business with you?
I really enjoy to partner up with entrepreneurs and provide them with the systems
Yeah,
and provide them with the tools to open their own schools.
yeah,
And I think we can do that because we've done that so many times with our corporate locations. We
hmm,
actually owned 10 corporate locations
yeah,
before we decided to franchise. So at that point, I felt like we've learned from all our trial and errors. We've done it so many times. We have all the
yeah.
checklists in place. It would just be easy. And I would enjoy it too.
Yeah, yeah. No, it makes sense, and I think what I love about that, I think, especially nowadays, where there's more and more kind of private equity money coming into the space, a lot of people are kicking off the act of franchising much sooner than they might have previously. And I'm curious, you guys obviously really push to become established, to build those playbooks, to understand how to operate in multiple markets. How have you seen that influence your ability to franchise? Like when you talk to prospective franchisees, how much of a positive is that to them when they're like, "Oh yeah, I can see that you've opened in different markets. You clearly dedicated to building a solid system before selling the system."
What we hear often from our franchisees that we build trust by
Hmm.
have done it multiple times. So it's not like we have one location and now we're, working through the concepts of expanding. We've done it already. We
Yeah,
had 10 locations by the time we started franchising. So it just kind of the feedback we're getting is you've done it so many times we can tell. We know that you know exactly what you're doing when it comes to real estate, to
hmm,
state licensing requirements. And we're still learning, but often we
sure.
do get the feedback that we are a little bit advanced than any other emerging brand just because we've
Yeah.
done it so many times.
Yeah, no, and it makes a ton of sense, and I'm curious as well, kind of how the conversation goes for you when discussing just being an emerging brand, right? Like you guys don't have 500 units all around the world. What do you kind of outline to them as like the real advantages to joining into a system like World Kids at this stage of expansion?
I think there's a lot of excitement
Hmm,
about joining an emerging brand just because we might have some attractive territory available
sure.
that maybe our competitors don't have. Also, franchisees that are joining, they're joining the first partners
Yeah.
that are onboarding with World Kids School, and they're really excited about providing their input to us and their
Hmm.
ideas. And we convey to them that that's really important to us. If you look at successful franchisors, the best
Hmm.
ideas come from the franchisees. And
Right.
so
Yeah.
that's kind of a very exciting part about being an emergent brand.
Yeah, no, it makes a ton of sense, and I'm curious, like when it comes to the languages you choose to instruct, is that also a part of the process? Like, if somebody came to you and they're like, "Hey, I speak this language that you currently don't teach," would you work with them to build a curriculum around, maybe a new language offering that you don't currently have?
We absolutely will. We're world kids after all,
I was
so
gonna
it's the
say, yeah,
world.
it's in the name, yeah.
Right. So what we're doing so far across the country is Spanish as the base language, just because that's
Sure.
just easy as far as staffing is concerned. Spanish is
Yep.
spoken almost everywhere. And then the secondary language we tailor to the community that we serve. So
Interesting. Okay.
our North Carolina franchisees are actually offering French. We
Oh, wow.
have an area developer in California that is thinking of adding Hindi. So
Oh, yeah.
that
Okay.
is, you can customize that to your area. And of course, we'll do our research and
Yeah.
we'll, partner up again with the franchisees and then make a decision on can we hire speakers in that language and also is there demand there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it makes a ton of sense, and I'm curious. Does that also play a role in kind of your territory development, where you are looking for areas that have a population, that has a growing population of non-native English speakers, or people that are clearly looking to learn other languages?
We definitely research that. Here's an interesting point though.
Yeah.
Most of our children attend, they are native English speakers at home, and
Oh,
their
interesting.
parents
It is so
just
they are learning a language that even their parents don't know.
they just come and visit us and they tell us we would have loved to have that exposure. We work with
Yeah,
someone
hundred
that speaks
percent.
3 or 4 languages, and our neighbors children speak 3 or 4 languages, and we wished we had that when we grew up. So we
Sure.
really want that head start for our children.
Yeah, yeah, no, my wife is Nicaraguan, she's fluent in Spanish, and I last year I took an adult Spanish class, and it was very bad. It was not world school, completely different. But I totally get the need for it. It's really hard to find kind of adult education even along the lines of being able to keep up with that, because I think for us, we don't have children yet. We will someday. Our intent is that they are probably multilingual, trilingual at least. And I think it's like such a need that exists, and it's such a globally present need, especially with how easy it is to move and work around the world compared to even 15, 20 years ago.
Right, and I never had English or French until high school. I wish
Yeah,
I had it at that young age, and that's
yeah,
exactly why I wanted it for my son.
yeah. I mean, it makes a ton of learning as an adult is so much harder because your mind
Yeah.
just only works in certain languages. It's like it's crazy, that progression. Um, and kind of jumping into the world kids model, I think I think what's also really interesting about this is it's not just for the money. Like, you can make absolutely good money franchising it, but there's also impact. You're also learning and teaching the next generation. How much does that speak throughout your process when you are bringing franchisees on? Like, this is just a good organization to be at. It feels good to be a part of it.
I say passion comes first,
Yeah,
always passion first.
yeah,
I actually entered this field because I had passion for multilingual education for
sure.
children, even though I have a business background and then later obtained my degree in education. So,
Yeah,
what we're looking for in franchisees is somebody that wants to do something with purpose and is
yeah,
passionate about bringing world kids to their communities. And it does take a very special person.
yeah.
Of course, we all want to run a lucrative business, and that comes together with it, but passion first.
Yeah, makes a ton of sense, and I think it's just like the type of business you want to run, and I imagine it's just way easier to get mission aligned folks that way.
Yes, and it's really interesting because our first partners that have joined the franchise, a lot of them have been executives in their lives. They've done a very nice living for
Sure.
themselves. They've been
Yeah,
a very demanding
they're like, we've really driven a
profession.
lot of bottom line for large corporations here.
Exactly. I mean, the expertise they bring to the table from their business
Yeah,
background is incredible,
yeah,
and I'm really excited to partner up with them. But there's one message across the board: is they loved what they were doing,
hmm,
but they wanted to do something more purposeful, and World Kids kind of meets that goal for them.
yeah, yeah, and it makes a ton of sense. And I think, I've read some of your other interviews, and you talk about like legacy creation and creating legacy for the kids, the families, the owners. How does that work for you personally, right? Because I think as an educator, that's clearly what you do every time somebody came to your house or comes to one of your schools. You're creating these memories for these kids. How do you think about your legacy as you build World Kids?
Yeah, I think the franchise is part of the legacy. So I
Yeah.
really enjoyed building World Kids in the community around Washington.
Hmm.
But then I can only do this so many times on my own, right? Bringing
Sure.
partners in that want to really spread that around the country
Hmm.
helps all of us to build legacy together. And it means a ton to me.
Yeah.
And having partners that really feel the same way about it is just incredible. And I think we're all building legacy together. And actually it comes up with franchisees often. They say they want
Interesting.
to build a legacy for their family.
Yeah.
So we all have the same mission.
Yeah, I love that, and I think it's got to be cool, just like the multiplication effect, right? Like one school leads to hundreds of kids, leads to this really big network here. I'm curious, like when you think about the impact, like are those metrics you track? Like, is it like, hey, we've this year we instructed 4,000 new kids to learn a new language? Like, what are those kind of impact metrics that you guys track that really tell the brand story?
Mhm. The metrics that is important to me is more about the quality of partners we're bringing on,
Sure.
especially at the beginning for
Yeah.
being an emerging brand. We really didn't have a number in mind. We just really
Hmm.
wanted to make sure that these first partners that are launching in new communities, that they're well supported, they're
Yeah.
successful, the kids have a great experience there, the World Kids experience that we have at all of other locations. And that is really the metrics. No, I think we've been busier than we anticipated, which
Sure.
is great.
Good
We've
problem.
hired
Good problem.
we've hired a franchise team, and we've
Yeah.
already gotten so many great ideas from our franchise partners.
Hmm.
But really, we measure it on our franchisees happy, other schools
Performing
providing
well.
what our philosophy is, and are the children happy as well in the environment.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And I'm curious, I always love learning about how people build their team. For you, when you were building out this franchise team, you obviously knew the business so well with having 10 corporate locations. What were the skill sets you were looking for right away to prepare you guys to support this growing network? Because I do think franchising is a fully different business model. It requires like fully different skills than you may have just running a corporate group. What did that look like for you guys?
Yeah, you're exactly right. We needed to bring someone on that had franchising experience, and
Mm,
we needed to educate our team on the franchising part. And we hired a VP of operations that
hmm.
has been in the franchise world for 20 years. We've
That's
all
awesome.
have taken ongoing classes. And so we combined that with somebody out of our corporate team that has opened most of our locations. And that in combination, we had the team ready. And then
Yeah, you've got the
over
playbook.
the last 6 months, we just hired support people to support our franchisees and around, across the country.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I think it's been probably a really fun 6 months, kind of getting all of this rolling, getting it kicked off really fast. What do the next 12 months look like for you? Like if we were to talk on January 26th, 2027, where do you think World Kids is? What do you hope has happened? Maybe let's talk about that.
My hope is that all the schools that are opening up are, attracting families in the community, that changing lives in the community. Our franchisees are meeting their passion goals, but also their financial goals,
Yeah,
because a lot of them left the corporate world to open a World Kids School. And I know that we are going into Texas soon. We're getting really
that's
close
awesome.
in signing an agreement there. So just launching and supporting our franchisees in that state as well. I mean, just in the first year, and it's not even over for us the first year. We already
Yeah,
launched into 3 states.
yeah,
So
it's
just
exciting.
really like supporting the existing schools, making sure that the students are happy, the franchisees are meeting their goals, and that's all I'm asking for.
Yeah, I always love to ask around kind of the expansion plans because I think some people will go like fully a radius around a geography, right? And they'll kind of slowly expand out. It seems like you guys are expanding a little more globally quickly than that, jumping states and all of that. What makes a great territory for you? Like when when you might be residing here in Texas, what makes Texas a great spot for you guys to expand to, this early in your development cycle?
In the United States, I think any metropolitan territory is a great territory for us. It's
Mm,
no secret, it's all over the news that we are actually living in many communities in childcare deserts.
yeah,
And families, young families, have challenges finding quality childcare as it is.
yeah,
So now at World Kids School, we're combining the childcare need with the multilingual immersion, with the early education program of educating children in a global environment.
yeah.
So we are really a fit for any community across the US, where there's young families, of course.
Yeah, yeah. I would guess that's a big thing. We need kids for World Kids.
Yes, yes, we do. I mean,
Super helpful.
parents are trying to sign up, but you know,
I mean,
maybe
I think it's a
maybe in a few
fascinating.
years.
I was gonna say, I think it's a fascinating topic because I've had the bad experience of like a local Spanish program. Is there a world where this evolves into world adults school
Yeah.
someday in the future?
Well, funny story. One parent, when I was a teacher, she had, a son enrolled with us, and every time he was mad at her, he would switch to Spanish. And she's like, Elliot, I do not
I do not
understand
understand.
Spanish. It's like, that's why I'm talking in Spanish. So I think there's a need for parents as well. I need to
Yeah,
travel with their children. I think one family traveled to Spain with their kids. They had two children enrolled with us, and they couldn't speak Spanish. So their preschooler that was 4 years old or 5 years old at the time ordered for them in the restaurant.
that's so awesome.
Yeah. And my son does that for me. I don't speak
Yeah,
Spanish. And, that's a question that often comes up. I'm a franchise partner of WorldKids. Do I need to be bilingual? Do I
sure.
need to look, know these languages? You
Yeah.
don't need to know Spanish or any other languages. I think the passion for the concept is the most important.
Yeah, man, it does seem like we're talking about a year from now. 5 years from now, I would be 0% surprised if you guys expand into kind of adult education because, I mean, Cincinnati's not a small metropolitan area, and it was hard to find a class, and the class sucked. So, I
Yeah,
think there's got to be an opportunity there.
it has come up.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's interesting. And I love this aspect of I think there's something special about your kids knowing something you don't know. Like when we're talking
Mhm.
about creating legacy, language is such a big one that can happen with that, and it has to feel good, right? Like knowing, oh wow, they're not just in this little ecosystem that I live in; they can expand beyond that.
Right, and also creates adaptability skills in them because
Yeah,
they are stepping into a classroom, and most of the time they have two teachers in the classroom that are both conversing to the students in a different language. So one teacher
yeah,
will talk in Mandarin Chinese, the other teacher will talk in Spanish. So no, they're doing something that's called code switching. Their brain switches
yeah,
constantly from one person, this is my Mandarin person, this is my Spanish person, back and
yeah.
forth. So having these skills or learning these skills early makes them adaptable for very diverse environments later
Yeah.
in life, which is really important for children.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. I was talking to the CEO of School of Rock, so they're like a childhood music education
Familiar with them.
yeah, and
Yeah.
she really talked about how they ran this really large study, and it was like the social impact for kids that had gone through their programs. They were like less depressed, less anxious, and they had these like massive mental health gains. I have to imagine the same impact if you were to run a study would be found with students that learn multiple languages. They feel more comfortable in different contexts and all of this. I would have to guess the same data would come out.
Absolutely. And music is just like another language. Children
Yeah, one hundred
have been
percent.
exposed to music or other languages early in life. They will pick up additional languages also much easier because their brain is already wired to think that way later
Yeah.
in life.
Yeah. No, I mean, that would be. I think it's fascinating. I think it's. My wife is a clinical psychologist, and it's painful hearing how often like everybody's dealing with depression, anxiety, trauma, all
Mhm.
this stuff. And I think education's a great way around it. Like I think it's a great place to be in both for the world, but also as an opportunity to kind of grow a business.
And especially early childhood education, if your wife
Yeah.
probably knows that as well, and you've talked about it, but there's just more emphasis these days on the first experience of school or
Yeah.
schooling. And that
Hmm.
really is early childhood education
Yeah.
and what an impact it has on a child's life later.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, I think it's fascinating. I'm always curious as well. I just as a business owner myself, I always love to ask, like, how do you think about your positioning in the market? Like, there are a lot of opportunities for after-school programs or child enrichment programs. How do you think about that from the market perspective? Like, how do you convince people, hey, this is how you should spend that time for your child?
Well, I do think we have a really niche concept here
Mm,
in the franchise world, for example. There's a lot of competitors that are doing a wonderful job and
yeah,
they're really great in what they're doing. And again, their territories might be sold out and they're very successful. We are the only early childhood slash childcare franchise that offers language immersion as far as I know as of today.
yeah.
And it kind of sets us apart.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. With that, I'm always curious. Like, what didn't I ask you? What would you like to talk about on this? You know, as opposed to me asking a bunch of questions. What do you want to scream from the rooftops? You know, that people should know about.
I'm just so excited for this
Yeah,
journey. I was
that's a great
excited.
sign.
Yes, I feel passionate about this. I'm just so excited. I thought I can finally franchise. Now I'm an empty nester, and I want to spread the world around the U.S. first,
Yeah,
and maybe then later we'll go to other countries as well. We had some inquiries, but I'm just so excited about the first franchise partners that have
yeah,
come on board. I knew that would be great, but I quite not expected how emotional it was for me.
sure. Yeah.
Franchising is just kind of an emotional roller coaster,
Oh
just like
yeah.
life,
I mean
right?
everything. Yeah.
We start the meet and greet, we're all excited, we're all passionate. Then we get closer to signing and like we want to make sure we checked on everything, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
we just support each other in the franchise team because we're so passionate and emotional about what we're doing. We are noticing we're going through the waves with our franchisees. so
Yeah. Sure.
so but sometimes I just get off a call and it's like, this has been just such an exciting, great journey. And I really
Yeah.
didn't quite expect that to be as emotional in a positive way.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love that. I think,
Yeah.
man, everything about building a business is so emotional because you're so connected to it, right? It's like
Right.
every success feels massive, every failure feels massive, and it's part of it's like what makes it fun, in my opinion.
Right. And I mean, I've done it for myself for the corporate locations, our
Yeah, and
corporate team
seeing
for
other
all these
people go
years.
through it's super exciting.
So our franchisees in North Raleigh and North Carolina,
Hmm.
whenever they get a waitlist request, they're not open yet, but they got a bunch of inquiries already for the waitlist. It's
That's
like
awesome.
a celebration. We send
Yeah.
emails back and forth and messages and
Yeah.
emojis, and it's just so exciting.
No, I love that. And kind of before we wrap, I always like to give you the opportunity for anybody that's either, interested in learning more about World Kids as a potential consumer or as a franchisee, where can they find you, Nicole, online? How can they reach out to you and where can they find the business?
Yeah, if you go on our website, worldkidsschool.com, it links to the franchise page, and we're also in most of the brokers network as well, so they can find us there. Yeah, just online.
Awesome. Well, Nicole, thank you so much for taking the time today and kind of talking through the journey of it all. I think you won the award 15 years ago. I wouldn't be surprised if you win some other awards here coming up because
Aw.
I've felt the pain. I think I'll feel the pain once we do have a child. So I think it's you're building a real solution to a real problem, which is exciting.
Thank you, and thank you, Paul, so much for having me on your show as well. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. And for everybody else, thank you for listening to another episode of Behind the Franchise with us and with Nicole Chaudry on. Go check out World Kids School online. Like I said, I think it's awesome. I think it's going to be great. And we hope to have y'all on the next episode. Talk to you soon.